3 viewers. Incredible. We'll get some more. We'll get some more soon. This is Computer Science 2, period 5 on Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Yeah. And this is going to be an example for something you could do in your projects if you need a way to see one of these things in action, then maybe we can do that today. I will, of course, have this up later, archived, same link, and you can watch it again. So let's go to a blank Replit, and I'm going to type a quick program in here, and we're going to sort of talk through it. You know, I have an idea of what I'm going to add, but of course, based on your input, we could take it in another direction. Okay, so for your project, let's go over the general criteria. 1, it has to be a game, which means it has to have some kind of interaction. You don't just watch it play out with no user choice or anything. 2, it uses functions. So you take your code and put it into chunks that, you know, a few things go toward one action. You put that under the function called flip or draw or choose or turn or whatever. And 3, it uses classes, or at least one class. And so on my example of the dice game where we roll 2 dice, I use the player class. And so this time I'll do a different one. I actually could do a player class for this, but I wanted to show something different, of course. So I thought we'd do a card game where you draw a card, something like War, where each player gets a card and whoever has the high value wins. Okay, but if we make the cards, we could do something else with it, right? If we make the function to draw a card and the class that has the card's attributes, it doesn't have to be War. We can make something else as long as we properly organize it. Okay, so how do we make a class? We type the word class, and I'm going to go class card. And the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to make every card individually. I don't want to say, hey, here's this new thing. It's called the 3 of clubs, and it has a value and a suit and maybe a position, and maybe it's face up or face down. You know, it has all of these qualities that are the same as the qualities that all the other cards have. So if I were to make the class card, I can make it a template for any of them. And so when I make the 3 of clubs, it already inherits the stuff that the 2 of clubs had. It has a value, it has a suit, it has whatever else, you know? When we did the player class on my other example, I used the init function, the init, and we could do that here, but I'm not going to, just for the sake of variety, to show different versions, because I don't want to do the same stuff every time, you know. So what's one thing you do with a card? What's the first thing any game would probably do? Draw a card. Let's make that function, okay? I'm going to go draw, let's say draw a card as my first function. I'm going to put a self in there. And I'm also going to drag these borders to make it nice and big. Okay. So when we draw a card, we're sort of generating it. I want this to be flexible. So like what we're going to do right now is make a pretty cheap, quick and dirty way of drawing a card, which is to just randomly generate a value and a suit. But the real way, if we were going to make a real complicated game, we would make a whole deck, right? Make all 52 cards, shuffle them, and then peel one off. And I looked, and that's actually a really cool project. Here's a site that talks about it, and I'm going to post this link for you guys. Because it's like using all these principles in super simple ways that makes a complicated thing. To make all 52 cards, shuffle them, peel one off, is a really powerful thing to do with just a couple of lines of code. But we're going to start with something even simpler. We're just going to go random value, random suit. My finger snaps aren't connecting the way, you know. So I'm going to go self.suit, and we're going to give it a random heart, spade, diamond, or club, right? I'm going to use the function called choice, where you give it a list of things and it picks one. So I'm going to go heart, comma, diamond, comma, club. No, I want to say hearts, diamonds with an S. And I'm going to go, what's the other one? Spade. Probably need a space on these guys. Why is that underline red? You actually don't need a space, by the way. I don't know why I did that. What do I miss? What do I need in order to invoke this random method? Yeah. Yeah, I don't have random to work with. It's a class, or kind of acts like a class. It's called a module because it's something I import from outside. And I haven't done that, so I got to hit import random at the top. Or it doesn't have to be the top, but there we go. The red line went away because now I have the random module and I can call up the method choice. Okay, so now it's going to pick one of these randomly and assign that to the suit. Okay, and then I'm going to go the other element of a card. It's got a suit and then it has the number or Jack, Queen, King stuff. In cards, they call that the rank. But I'm not going to call this rank because that's not what I'm doing. I'm just giving it a number first, and then we have to translate it. You know, like, so I'm going to go random dot ran int for the old integer. And I'm going to go from 2 to 14. Okay, because the lowest card is a 2, and then the highest one is an ace, but I can't tell the computer ace. It doesn't know what that means. So I'm going up to 14, and then we're going to have to tell it, hey, look, if it's a 12, that means queen. You know, if it's a 14, that means ace. We're going to have to add a couple lines about that. But we don't want to do that yet, because when we compare the cards, if we're doing war, for example, and we want to see who wins, we want to have it be numerical, because I want to treat a king as a 13 in order to make sure that it's a greater than a queen or greater than a 5 or whatever. Hey, what's up?
Hey, just for tomorrow, it's the last one.
All right. Thanks. So we got to keep in mind that sometime we're going to have to translate that into card lore. You know what I mean? Like 13 is going to be king or whatever. This is one thing you're going to see in a game of any type, is that you've got like the numbers, and then you've got the fancy decoration that gets put on them. If you're playing a video game and you like shoot a fireball at the other guy, the game just treats it as like, oh, he loses 30 HP. It doesn't really care what the fireball is, but you care, and you want to have that decoration on top. So this is a very simple version of that. We're going to have the value in numerical terms, but we're also going to have the skin over that of like the characters or whatever you call them. All right? And that's it for the draw card, because we're going to get two things. We're going to get the suit and the value. And then later we'll translate that into something else. Okay? I'm going to add one super quick thing, which is going to be called get value, because I want to make this completely what they call encapsulated. Okay, encapsulated means this module, this class, is whole and is independent, and nothing can get into it. And so when we make a card, other parts of our program have no idea what's going on inside the card. They just say, hey, can I have a card, please? And it sends one back. But they don't reach in and fiddle with the variables. They don't change anything. Why are we doing that? Because I'm going to change the cards. Right? If I make this sort of quick and dirty way now of random suit, random value, that's cool, but that's not what we really want. We want to like actually make a deck of cards and shuffle them and get that in a real way. So I want to make the card thing like independent, so that if I change this, it doesn't ruin the rest of the program. Okay? Imagine the classrooms, okay? Dinsford next door. I know what that classroom is like. In fact, I know it's the same as this one. It's the same dimensions. It has windows and a door in the same place. But I have no idea what's going on in there. I can't affect it. I can't see it. The only way I can get anything done is by sending a message. Phone, email, human, and then getting a message back. And I might say, hey, how many people do you have in there? Can you give me a stapler? What's our plan for Friday? And then he would send a message back. But he would be independent. You know, I can't just reach into that room and take information without asking. So that's what this is that whenever we're going to ask for the card's value, we're going to say, hey, get the value, please. And then it's going to return it. Now, for our final thing on the card, we got to do the actual name, right? When you say, hey, what's this card? You want to get a nice, pretty English phrase, the 3 of hearts, the king of diamonds. You know? You don't want like a variable that has a 2 to 14 and then just a random suit not connected to it. You want like a beautiful English phrase. So I'm going to call that get name. Sounds about right. And here's where we do the translation. Okay. If the value is less than 11, then we don't change anything, right? We call it the number. If it's a 3, we call it a 3. If it's a 7, we call it a 7. So if the value is under 11, I'm going to go, I have to make a new variable, right? And I'm going to call it rank, because that's just what it's called. If you look up like the rules of the little bicycle booklet you get when you buy a deck of cards, they use the term rank for, is it a number or is it jack or whatever. So I'm saying if the value is under 11, then the rank is the same. By the way, you can do if in one line. I know usually we do stuff like this, but if it's a single thing, statement, condition, bada bing, bada boom, you can do it in one line. And since I'm going to have a few in a row, let's go ahead and do it that way. Okay. So now we're going to say, like, if it's 12, we call that a jack. If it's 13, we call that a queen. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to copy this a couple of times because I'm going to change just a few tiny things. You know what I mean? Wait. 11 is jack. 12 is queen. 13 is king. And 14 is ace. What'd you say? Top 1 to 10. Like this. It was less than 11, so 11 was not captured in that statement. So I could say less than 11, or I could say less than or equal to 10, and it's fine either way. But that's a good thing to keep in mind. So this is all we need for the card right now. We've got the value behind the scenes, and we've got, no, hang on. We need one more line. And we need the actual English phrasing of, like, it's the 5 of clubs, right? So what do we need? We need a line that says that, right? We need something like rank plus of plus suit, right? Because what we want, if we want to say get name, we want it to say 5 of hearts, 7 of diamonds, 10 of whatever. And this is how you do that. Completely encapsulated in the card. So the rest of our program has no idea what's going on inside of the card class. It just says, hey, what's this card called? And it gets an answer. I'm missing one thing, by the way. My computer science 1 class is doing JavaScript, and I'm getting them mixed up. I did one thing in this that's a JavaScript thing. Anybody have an eagle eye and maybe see what's wrong with this line right here? If the value is under 11 or it's less than or equal to 10, then the rank is a value. But what's the type of these variables? Value is what? An integer. But rank shouldn't be an integer, right? What do we want it to be? String. That's what we're missing. In JavaScript, you don't have to do that. Variables are just whatever. They call it dynamic typing. But in this, you do. Because when I was going to run this, and it was going to say the rank, it couldn't do that if it was trying to display an integer, trying to take something from Math World and put it into English World. It wouldn't work. Okay. So, backing up, because we're outside of this class, let's make some cards. Okay? I'm going to go player 1 card equals card. Player 2 card equals card. These are cards now, and they have everything inside of here. Ooh. They have the ability to draw. They have the ability to get value. They have the ability to get name. They inherit all of that because they're based on the template. Okay? Which means if I wanted to make more cards in the future, I could do it by just saying something equals card. Good question, right? This is why we're starting with something simple and building onto it. Because right now, this is random, and this is independently random. So 1.something% of the time, it's going to say King of Hearts and King of Hearts, right? So, good observation. And we can fix that in a minute. Because what are we going to do next? We're going to draw the cards. Alright. We're going to player 1 card. Dot draw card. Player 2 card. Dot draw card. And so this guy, player 1 card, so far is not populated with anything. It doesn't have a rank or a value or whatever until we draw it. And same thing for the other one. Because I didn't do it with the initialize function. I could have, and that would be fine, but I wanted to show a different thing. So now, if we hit run, nothing would actually print, but let's hit run just to see what happens. Hey, no errors, at least. Let's print them to see what we're getting. Player 1 draws a dot get name, right? Is that gonna work? Oh, what's wrong? Oh, it needs the little parentheses. even though there's no stuff in there. Little parentheses after this guy means that it is a method, aka function. Okay, player 1 draws a jack of spade. I forgot the S on this one. Boop. Hit run a couple of times. Looks good, right? So let's do the other one. Just copy and paste. Oh. Okay, so we got a couple of things we need to fix, right? One, like Bryce said, we gotta say if they're equal. We don't want to print that because you don't want to say you got the 3 of spades and you also got the 3 of spades. That wouldn't happen in a real life deck. One other thing I noticed is you got the whole problem of A versus and. If it says 8, that looks ugly, right? We want to say something that sounds good in English. And I don't want to put A with an N in parentheses or whatever. That's a bunch of nonsense. So I'm going to change this to the. Right. Matthew, anything in the chat? Any? Hey, look at that. We got some streaming slang in there. We need like emotes and people gifting subscriptions and stuff. You know, Twitch is not blocked on the teacher computers. I'm sure it is on the student computer. Let's add a little thing about them being equal, right? Because in theory, if we're making this modular and encapsulated, we're going to get real cards from the draw function, and we don't have to worry about this. But for now, we do. So let's add like a line to say that if they're equal, we want to redo one of them, right? So we could go if then let's say player 2 like draw again. Looking good, right? Actually, this is not perfect because this only checks once. So theoretically, you could have it redraw and then get the same thing again. So there's a 1 over 52 squared chance that this wouldn't work. So let's make this while they're equal. Then you do that thing. Right? What would that be, by the way? What is 52 squared? I don't even, where's my little... Okay. So 1 out of 2704 times, it would still have a problem after that line. But not when it says this. Like this thing? Yeah, you can. It definitely looks better when you do that. Because your eye can track what's inside the statement and what's not. What do we want to do next? probably say who wins, right? So this right now is kind of loose. All this stuff is floating in the cytoplasm. We want to wrap it up nicely, but we can do that in a minute. We want to like maybe put this in a function that says like deal, put the next thing in a function that says check or whatever, you know what I mean? We can do that for sure. So let's test who's winning and who's not. Pretty simple because there's only 3 possibilities. If one guy wins, you print that. If the other guy wins, you print that. Or if they're equal, you say it's a tie. Something like that, right? So you can go if player 1 card dot get value. Remember for this, I'm not caring about the suit. I just care about the value because a 3 of clubs is the same as a 3 of diamonds. And I don't want to use the variable. Okay, I can. This is not like a local variable that can't be referenced outside of it, but it is nicer to ask, to say, hey, Mr. Card, what is your value? Instead of just using it. Okay. So I'm going to say player1card.getValue, which, by the way, is going to give me an integer, right? Not the string from the other guy. I'm getting into copy paste mode because I don't want to type. Then print player 1 wins, and do another one. Switch the sign. Oop. 2. And then do another one. Let's try that. Oof. Looks good, right? So what's next? Well, what am I missing from the actual project? If I turn this in for a grade, what would I miss? The very first thing, which is what? Get it up on the old screen. The very first thing is user input, and this lacks it. You hit run and it just happens. So it never asks the guy to make a choice, or say a name, or say, do you want to play again? Or do you want to bet beforehand? Or do you want to predict beforehand? We could add one of those to make it, you know, right now, like, do you call this a game if it just deals cards and says you win? Because you're not doing anything. I don't know. It's kind of like just a video you watch, you know. So let's add one of those. What do you want to add? Name, choice, bet, predict, play again, quit. Okay, let's do a bet. It says like before you deal, you know, do you want to bet X chips, you know? If this, that would be funny if a real casino had war and it's like you just bet and then they deal 1 card. So let's say you want to bet. Maybe we can think of a cute name for our money in this universe. You know, it would be called like, you know, Kimball Bucks or something. Let's add whatever, and we don't mind what order this is in because we're gonna wrap it up inside of functions. And so when you call the bet function, it doesn't matter if you put it at the top or you put it at the bottom. It's all fine. So let's go def bet print how much you want to bet. How much would you like to bet? That's not print. That should be input. Let's say like wager equals whatever. Okay. And then we can. Oh, I don't know. Maybe she'll come back. Oh, we also have lunch in a minute, so. Then, at the end, we'll actually use the wager variable, you know. Let's wrap these up inside of functions here. So let's call this, what do you want to call that? Test, win, status, and then if you highlight it all and then hit tab, it moves nicely. And then let's call this deal. This whole thing. Whoop. And then so we would go bet, deal, oh no, what's wrong with this? Oh, I didn't do a colon. Come on, man. Hey, so now our program is just this, and then this expands into these, and these reach into this. But isn't that beautiful that our program is just 3 lines, and then they have a lot behind them? But to be able to write it out like that is just so nice, because you can replace the innards, and this part remains. Like if I change how I want to do the bet, this part can do whatever it wants, but this line can stay here. And if I change how I do the deal, well, that's fine. Okay, that is our lunch, so I'm going to end this live stream. If anybody put in the chat, I hope you saw it. If anybody watches this later, it's at the same link.